going on, everybody out there in YouTube land? And I've been sitting here watching, and I've been catching these. I haven't caught any in a while. It's been a little while, but been catching these little lights that are moving across the sky. And I'm trying to see if I can catch them on video again. I see one up there. It's kind of faint. And I'm trying to catch it on video. But I've seen so far 4 of them in the past 15 minutes or so. And I just don't know what the hell they are. Like I said, these things are solid white lights. They're not blinking. Like, let's see here, right over here. See that right there? That blinking one? That's an airplane. Okay? That's what airplanes look like. Right there. You see that blinking light? Here, I'll try and move in a little bit closer. That is an airplane. All right, the lights that I've been seeing have been solid white lights. They're not blinking. And they're moving pretty fast across the sky at a really high elevation. So, I don't know what they are. But I'm hoping I can catch some more on video. And like I said, I've seen 4 of them in the past 15 minutes. And so it inspired me to go get my camera and bring it out. And just on the off chance I can catch it on video. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was seeing a lot of them. I was seeing, at the minimum, 1 every night. And, matter of fact, here's another one. Let's see if I can get it down. It's right above me. There it is. There it is. See that white light that's kind of moving across the screen right there? It's not blinking. I do not know what those are. Look at that. Then it just disappeared. I don't know what they are. But I'm going to keep my eyes open and try and see if I can find any more. And sit out here and talk to y'all for a little bit while I'm doing it. Okay. I personally haven't done anything on this recent assassination, simply because from the get-go it's been feeling really off to me. There's a lot of similarities to the JFK assassination. Has a lot of similarities to the lies that are being told to us for so many years by the government. And so it's really hard to get any kind of definitive or objective viewpoints. But there's so many things, in my opinion, that are off. I mean, the timing is just crazy, for one, because I think it was the very same day they were trying to get the Epstein things released, and then they, I think they voted against it or something like that. But I mean, if they would have voted for it or whatever, they would have had 30 days to produce it, all the list and all that stuff. And with the assassination of Charlie, took the focus off of that. And I've always said, all these things that take a majority of our attention, it usually ends up kind of like a an old magic trick, the sleight of hand. While you're paying attention to the left hand, the right hand's picking your pocket, type of thing. And then I try to figure out reasoning behind it. Who's going to benefit, who's going to profit from it. Because this narrative that they're trying to push, like it's some crazed lone gunman scenario, doesn't strike me as true. My gut tells me it's not true, and my gut never lies to me. My gut will tell me the truth, and it is usually right. So I'm trying to put aside all my all the theories and this and that and all the opinions and all that stuff. I'm just trying to look at what actually happened. Everything from the shot itself, from the trajectory off of the roof, and how the bullet hit his chest, and probably right on the chest plate, right on the the protective body armor he had under his shirt, and traveled upward toward the neck. Now either bounced or it fragmented. And I was sitting there thinking about the trajectory of the bullet. It doesn't strike me as something that came from a rooftop downward and then ricocheted upward. So there is that. When it comes down to it, it makes me think, because I know firearms. I'm not ignorant when it comes down to firearms and stuff like that. and body armor and how that affects and it reacts. Because they're trying to say that the shot didn't go to the chest and ricochet, because they're trying to say it went straight to the neck, which there was no exit wound. So if it was, which, I had a feeling it was a 30-06 from the beginning for some reason. But that would have left a very large exit wound and a very small entrance wound if it was, if that was the actual original place it was hit was in the neck. And that's just not how it happened. All right, so I want to say that the shot came from closer to ground level than the rooftop. Also, there was a lot of other people that gained the attention of the cops to begin with and allowed the suspect that they've got in custody right now to get off the roof and get away for a little while. I start thinking about this too for large events with a lot of people. Usually there would be a lot more cops involved for the amount of people in the crowd. Which universities have their own police force, and as far as I know, there's only 4 cops there. So that was unusual. Usually, large events with a lot of people, there would be an EMS ambulance or something like that on standby, just in case something was to go on. That wasn't there. I mean, you go to a state fair or anything like, any large event where there's a lot of people, there was always like an ambulance, EMS type of thing on standby. That wasn't there. So that's another interesting thing. There's a lot of interesting things also on the weapon itself. They claim that this guy previously put it up on the roof beforehand, got back down, and then came back up there and took the shot. And then they say it was disassembled, and then he got off the roof. And, according, if you look at the videos, it doesn't look like he had a weapon with him when he got down off the roof. And then they're also claiming that once he got off the roof and he went into the woods, he reassembled it, wrapped it in a towel, left it behind. That's kind of odd also. Because, I mean, if you're wanting to do something like that, you sure as hell, you got to know that this is a possibility. It could be a suicide mission. You're going to get killed by a cop or something like that. So if you're wanting to get away with it, you don't want to have anything tracing you back and tracing it back to you. So the question is, so why would you, now you try to put yourself in like, let's just say for shits and giggles, you believe the narrative and it's some crazed lone gunman thing. Why would you take the shot, and I know you it wasn't much time after the shot was taken that the guy started running off the roof. So this guy had to have been lightning fast to disassemble the rifle, which is not easily done in a very short period of time, and then climb down off the roof, walk across the damn parking lot and across the road into the woods, and then reassemble it and then leave it behind, when it was supposedly, like, they say, according to the narrative, it was the dude's father's gun or something like that. You think about it, if you believe the narrative, try to put yourself in this kid's shoes. If this was how they're trying to say it was, you put yourself in their shoes. It's like, okay, you got pissed off because this guy's talking some stuff that you don't agree with. So you're like, okay, well, I'm going to kill him, that kind of thing. Well, all right, well, now I've got to figure out, I've got to go out and I've got to take my dad's gun. I've got to, scope the place out. I've got to find a place to sit. I've got to place the weapon in place beforehand, and then leave, and then come back when it was already up there where he put it, and then come back, take the shot at a really fast speed, disassemble it, get down off the roof, and then reassemble it and leave it behind. Now, I don't see anything in that story that makes sense, for one. All right. And then, there's another one of those lights. See if I can get that on camera too. No. It's moving, but it's really dim. I can barely see the light. So I don't think it's not gonna show up on camera. But anyway. In recent times before his death, he was being very critical of Israel. All right, and to be clear, how I see things. To be clear, Israel is not an ally of the American people. Israel doesn't recognize or even believe in our individual natural rights that are supposed to be protected under the Constitution. And then on top of that, the modern day Israel is not the same, the modern day geographic location, the modern day political scene, and the modern day people of Israel are not the same that was being spoken about in the Bible. So it is not, God's chosen ones or some shit like that. And this is just to be clear, because a lot of people want to put this biblical scenario up in there and like all this other shit. And Israel must be protected because it was, because it was said so in the Bible, and whatever. That is not the same. The Israel is not today is not the same as it was back in biblical times. So there's that. So I don't see any reason to support this for that reason, in the way I see things. Just because you guys want to believe that the Bible told us we have to. Well, that's just bullshit. But you got to understand, it's like, what was it, 1948 or something like that, when Israel was basically created by the British and the U.S. government in the modern day sense. So the modern day sense is not the same as it was back then in those days. And it drives me nuts that, so many people are blindly believing the narrative, blindingly believing the FBI, like Kash Patel and, Bongino and all those other people. To be honest and to be clear again, the entity claiming to be the government here in the United States of America, which is actually a corporation that was bankrupt and bought out a long time ago, has been lying to us for the past 300 years. That's the track record of the government. You also have to remember that Obama, redid the law on propaganda and made it legal to propagate propaganda to the American people on American soil. Because before that, there was a law making it illegal to do that. And Obama redid that, or made it legal again to do so. So you got to understand that everything that the mainstream media, everything that the government is trying to tell you is to portray a narrative, and they don't care because they know they have the legal basis under the law that they've written that makes it okay and covers their ass. So, like I said, Charlie was, in recent, times before his death, was being critical of Israel. And there are too many people around the world that, including Israel, that cannot stand for any kind of criticism. You must blindly believe the narrative that they put forth. And you must not be critical of that. I mean, that's basically fascism right there, when it comes down to that end of it. If you cannot criticize or anything like that, the official narrative, that's fascism. And I'm trying not to repeat myself, but that's what it is. There's a possibility with the criticism. They found it to be okay to sacrifice Charlie to create a distraction and a diversion from other things that are going on in the background. And then on top of that, there's also the need to get a civil war going, because that's what the communists really want, is to divide the country into a point of civil war so they can institute their order out of chaos, problem, reaction, solution scenario. And who is to benefit and who is to gain and who is to profit from all of this? Well, it's the new world order. Because they want to have complete and utter control over everything on this fucking planet. They want to be the masters of the universe. They're going to try and put a narrative out there that the only way to stop wars in this country or in the world itself, and stop wars around the world, is to eliminate all governments around the world and unify them into one government. Then there will be no reason to have wars, because it wouldn't be governments against governments. It would be one world government. So therefore, there will be no more wars. They're going to try and push that type of narrative because that's what they think they can get people behind it. Because nobody really wants war. Nobody likes war. Too many people die. And quite honestly, that is their purpose for wars, is to gain control over either monetary means or land and property and over the minds of the people. So, and then on top of that, one of the things that they have mentioned before is that they want to eliminate 90% of the population of the planet. And one of the ways to eliminate a whole shitload of population of the planet is to have a shitload of wars. When there's a lot of wars, a lot of people die. And they can justify the murder of so many people in the name of the greater good and whatever else. I was watching, I watched it a long time ago, but I was reminded of that cartoon, Ants. Quite honestly, man, in my opinion, I think it's time for the ants of the world to put down the grasshoppers like rabid dogs. Because these grasshoppers, they want to be and continue wanting to be the rulers and the masters of the ants. And we are just obligated to obey. But the thing is, man, when it comes down to the assassination, there's a good possibility, because of the criticizing of some of the things that Netanyahu is doing, and how the actions that he's been taking, is one of the reasons why, or probably is the reason why, Charlie was sacrificed. For as long as I can remember, for a long time anyway, Charlie has been talking about how he supports Israel and all this other stuff. And I see so many politicians that are bowing down, and basically, saying that they support Israel and all this other stuff, But Israel has not done anything for the American people. Nothing. If you put aside this religious aspect of the whole scenario, just put that aside And then you look at everything else, Israel has done nothing for the American people to be an ally. So I don't understand why people think that they are an ally and we should support them. Quite honestly, I don't believe any country in the world is an ally of the American people. Not one country around the world is taxing the crap out of their citizens to give money to the American people, for one. There's not one country around the world that actually recognizes or considers the American people's sovereignty and our individual freedom as a real thing. And nobody's willing to financially or monetarily, help out American people. Not one country around the world. I'll even say even Europe. Even Britain, and for real, because honestly, man, the British are the very ones that tried to. From the beginning, tried to instill the rule of the British Crown over the Americas. And you have to be extremely ignorant and stupid to believe that they just decided to not do that. No, that's been the plan from the get-go, is for the America to be under the British Crown. And technically, it has been monetarily the whole time. Like I said, they've been lying to us for 300 years. They've been stealing from us. They've become traitors to us for a long time now. 1913. Or what was it, 1912, I think it was actually. It was like Jekyll Island, where they, in secret, behind closed doors, basically, sat down and created the Federal Reserve, which is not federal, nor does it have any reserve. It's not even a part of America. And at the same time, around 1913, they created the IRS, and then also started taxing the American people. And then also you got the Rockefeller Foundation was created, and they're the ones that created the public school system to create obedient workers. So around 1912, 1913, 1914, that's when a lot of shit went to crap. And then the corporation claiming to be the government is the one that have been traitors to the American people. And honestly, like I said, I think it began a lot earlier than that. But that's when it really went to shit for the American people. And they've created dead slaves out of all of us from the time we're born. And with the birth certificate, they've created a a trust, basically a trust under the birth certificate, and claim that we are dead. And they have created trusts to control and have ownership over everything, our property, our bodies, our soul. Sesquitate Trust. I can't really say it. I can't. Anyway, that started over in Britain. I think it was back in 1612 or something like that, when that was first started over there. Under the all capital letter name that you see on your birth certificate, social security card, your driver's license, all that shit. Because with that document, that contract that they claim that we are under obligation to. And they want everybody to believe that we are, and everybody to believe that all capital letter name is the same as the flesh and blood, which it's not. It actually means that our mother that has signed over the birth certificate, has basically claimed that we are dead at sea, because it was under maritime law, Admiralty maritime law. Because the British, they at the time, they were the British crown and all that stuff. They had control over the seas, and that was had a lot to do with commerce. So that was another thing too. When they created the trust on the Social Security and the birth certificate, that with that contract, that was everyone that is in that system. That straw man, that all capital letter name, has been traded on the International Stock Exchange from the time you're born until the time you're dead and stuff like that. And the time you're, but once the birth certificate, like I said, they, the way the contract works is your mother is claiming that you're dead at sea, and now the government has control over that dead entity. See, the thing is about law, only the Creator can create law. And law is comprised of three things: land, air, and water. That's what law is. And only the Creator can create law. So no human on this planet can create law. Only humans can create statutes, codes, policies, rules, regulations, edicts, mandates, acts, all that good shit. That's what humans create. And they've stacked so much of that on top of the law that the Creator created, saying that has more authority and jurisdiction than what the Creator created. And it's all about money and commerce. Monetary debt slavery. There is a lot of stuff that's been going on when it comes down to this. You have a lot of entities that are in play. You've got, Israel is definitely part of it. You got the Vatican, you got the UN, you've got the Club of Rome, the International, the International, the Royal International Foreign Affairs, the Bilderberg Group, the Trilateral Commission, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, so many things that are involved that are trying to keep the ants of the world under their boot. And if you question their self-proclaimed authority and their narrative, they want to silence all of that. That's exactly what communists want to do anyway, They want to stifle and silence any kind of resistance, any kind of pushback. I'm trying to find the right words. Sorry. I'm not a very eloquent, so that's one of the things about Charlie. He was very eloquent on how he speaks, and he was very knowledgeable, which I know I'm not. I'm not as much as him. And I mean, I'll have to admit, I didn't agree with everything Charlie had to say, because he was definitely embedded into this religion called government, which I don't see any legitimacy in government at all. Government has been nothing but, for centuries, been absolute force and coercion against the people. And they have killed, murdered, stolen, lied to the people of this planet. That's what governments have done for centuries. And, they call them different things. Governments, kingdoms, empires, it doesn't matter. They're all the same. It is a few people believing that they have the moral right to rule over others, and everyone else has the obligation to obey. This has never been good for the everyone else scenario. Now, there are people out there that will benefit from that system, so they want that system to continue. There are some out there that are too scared to go against the system, and they feel like the best way to save their hide, to cover their ass and keep their ass fucking alive, is to appease the system that's in place. And so they will basically they will do whatever's necessary to keep their ass alive. And if that means being a traitor, stabbing people in the back, violating people's trust, violating their loyalty, and all this other shit, they will do whatever they have to keep that shit, that system in place, so they stay alive. They'll betray. They will betray anyone just to save their own ass. So the system has gotten it to the point where that is how they want things to happen. And that's the reason why I was sitting there talking about this narrative of the Civil War scenario. The conservative side or the right side, whatever you want to call it, whatever. That's the difference between the two sides right at the moment. It's like you got all these people that idolized George Floyd, and when he got killed, they rioted and they destroyed things and all this other shit. Well, the people that idolized Charlie, they didn't do that. They sat around and had vigils and shit like that. That's, prayer. And they didn't do that. They didn't do all this destroying and rioting and all that shit. And I think that's a problem for the powers that should not be, because they want to create this chaos of a civil war. They want that to happen so they can step in with their pre-planned solution of order out of chaos. So I think part of the narrative that they're trying to push with the death of Charlie is to get the conservative side radicalized to the point of violence. And if they can get the conservative side of point of violence against the other side that already are violent, just by saying anything they don't agree with, and then those two sides clash in violence, that's perfect for the powers that should not be, because they will be that third party that steps in to create that order out of that chaos. That's their plan. And in the meantime, like I said, that their plan is to eliminate 90% of the population of the planet. And if we all kill each other off, they won't have to do it. They won't have to fire a bullet. They won't have to lift a finger. We'll do it to ourselves. And that will eliminate a lot of population right there. And then on top of that, the powers that should not be, they are willing to add gasoline to that fire. So it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it becomes a forest fire. It's uncontrollable in a way, because they believe they can control it, like a control burn type of scenario. They think they can have that controlled chaos. Because, I mean, honestly, and if you look at it in history, it's part of their playbook. They've done it before. They know it works. They know this is a tried and true method and tactic. So why change it when they know it works? So that's the thing. So I don't think, by the evidence that I've been seeing so far, which I don't have all the evidence, but by the evidence that I've been seeing so far, I don't think that it was some lunatic, crazed lone gunman scenario that this narrative they're trying to push. I don't think that's true. But that's exactly how they tried to play it off with Kennedy and stuff like that too, with JFK. And if they'll lie to us for over 60 years about that, which they still are lying to us about it, and if they're willing to do that for over 60 years, of course they're going to lie to us about this. If they're willing to lie to us about what happened with the towers, they will lie to us about Charlie also. If they're willing to lie to us of why Vietnam was started, they will continue to lie to us, and they will lie to us about Charlie. If they're willing to lie to us about Pearl Harbor, they will lie to us about Charlie. If they will lie to us about the reasons why they took us off the gold standard or stole our gold and replaced it with a fiat currency, they will lie to us about Charlie. I'm just saying that all through history, anyone that was trying to promote, love and peace and all this other stuff. I mean, you go back as far as Jesus, you got Gandhi, you got MLK, you got Malcolm X, you got, JFK, There's so many people through history that were trying to promote this type of viewpoint, and they were killed. I mean, even Bob Marley. I mean, come on. There were so many people through history that were trying to promote this, you know, a more positive thing, and that was a threat to their control. That was a threat to their narrative, and they had to be silenced. Now, there's a possibility that Charlie may have been killed by the absolute communists out there that cannot stand this, because I mean, seriously, the First Amendment is really a threat to communism. And, you know, there is a possibility that was the complete reason why he was killed off, is because that was a threat to communism. And then there's also the thing about where he was a sacrificial lamb, you know, and that's happened before in history also, where the side that is on the same side, let's say this, the same side, the people that are on the same side as Charlie, that claim to be on the same type of that claim to be on the same team, see that Charlie could be a way to get their narrative going even further. Because I'm going to tell you something, man. There's a lot of people out there that are looking at Charlie as like a martyr. And what better way to motivate people into a narrative, and when they have a martyr. So, you know, because I'm going to tell you something. If it was the other side, the communists and stuff like that, or it was like some lone gunman scenario, I don't think they really considered the with that official narrative, I don't think they would have considered that Charlie would become a martyr, and that would create thousands of Charlie Kirks by doing that. But there's also the side where that's exactly what somebody wanted to happen. We needed millions of Charlie Kirks out there. So what better way is to sacrifice Charlie and create that type of thing? I've been saying this for a long time. I've been saying it for a very long time. I mean, even in the time that I've been on YouTube, I've been saying things. A lot of my videos have been deleted by YouTube, so you can't see a lot of those videos that I have put up over the years because they're gone now. But I have been saying it for a long time, not just on YouTube. I've been saying it for a long time, and just face to face to people, and while I was been on the CB radio and all this other shit. There is a storm coming. I can see the storm in the distance. And you must prepare your mind and your soul for the battles ahead. And then on top of that, you should prepare yourself physically, which I've been lacking on that personally because I smoke too many damn cigarettes. And, you know, I need to quit the damn cigarettes, man, to get my health a little bit better off. But, you know, you should prepare yourself physically. You should prepare yourself on so many different fronts when it comes down to the coming battles that are heading our direction. And it's being influenced and manipulated and created by the ones that want us to be their slaves. Lack of better words. They're serfs. They're, you know, because they want to live off of our backs. You know, they want to live off of our labor. They want to live off of our creativity. They want to live off of our wealth. And they think they have the moral right to do so. That's why I say just push aside that religious part of it. Because quite honestly, political, corporate, and religious dogma is what is killing life on this planet. And it will continue to kill life on this planet until the ants stand against the grasshoppers. Because the ants have the power. We also outnumber them. We outnumber them so much more. That's one of the other reasons why they need to, in their mind, they need to kill 90% of the population off in this planet, because it would be a more manageable type of number. Because they know if we all wake up to the facts, to the truth, they wouldn't stand a chance. They know this, and they're afraid of that. They're actually terrified of that. And quite honestly, I think they need to be. You know, I mean, if you go on to the biblical sense, you know, people says, the fear of God. Well, these people, these psychopaths don't fear God. And quite honestly, man, if we, the ants of the planet, put the fear of God into them, things would be a little bit better. But that's the thing right now. They don't really fear. They don't fear God, and they are afraid of us if we were to wake up. But as it stands right now, we're so easily manipulated, so easily controlled, so easily corrupted. They're not really that fearful as long as they have that control. But they know, and they are terrified if we all were to wake up to the truth, wake up to reality, and see through the veil of fiction that they put over everybody's eyes. They're very terrified of that. Now, I know that at the moment, the only weapon I have is my mouth and me speaking. And I'm gonna tell you something right now. If I was to get knocked off by some crazy motherfucker or some shit like that, I'm not gonna have, you know, thousands and thousands of people sitting there crying over my fucking death. I will not be that martyr. So I'm just like an insignificant ant to them. And they know if I was to get bumped off, it wouldn't make that much of an impact in their plans. That's why when it come down to Charlie, they had to play it a certain way. They had to do it a certain way. Because you got to understand, there are people out there that are playing both sides, and they're profiting, they're benefiting, and they're gaining from no matter what side it is. It doesn't matter who wins or loses. It doesn't matter what side. They will, in their minds, come out on top. Because this is on a global scale. This is on a massive scale. And they know the more massive and the more confusing it is, the more people don't think it's real. There's so many people out there. It's like, oh man, it couldn't be that. It couldn't be like that, because that would mean that there would be so many people that are involved, so many people that are complicit, so many people that are, in the know, or they're either consciously or unconsciously or whatever, participating in this scenario. It just couldn't happen. Well, that's why they get away with what they're doing, is because they know, that so many people would not believe that something so massive and so big can even exist. And that's the problem with belief. That's why the religious thing always keeps on coming up also, because there's so many people that are believing, and belief is doubt. Because, belief is doubt. That's exactly what belief is. It's doubt, because you can believe, like for instance, I'll give you, on this transgender shit, you can believe that you're a girl when you're born a boy, and you can believe that you're a girl when you put a wig and a dress on. But knowing is a different story. You can believe it all you want. That's because you doubt. You can believe in all this other fiction type of scenario, fictional stories, but it's a doubt. There's no truth behind it. There's no facts. There's no objective reality behind it. It's just a belief. It's the same thing with Israel. There's a lot of people believe that Israel, these are God's chosen ones. That's just a belief. That's not reality. That's not objective truth and fact. That's just a belief. And that's the thing about belief. You can't argue a belief. You can't debate a belief, because that's an individual mindset. Objective truth, reality, and facts would be a common thing. It wouldn't be an individual thing. It would be something that is broad spectrum, that it's like a universal thing. But that's what the powers that should not be want, is to have this fiction, this belief portrayed as objective fact and reality and truth. It's like, you know, this is the thing. It's like the narrative with Charlie. They want this narrative, this story to be believed by so many people. The objective truth, reality, and facts cannot contradict or cannot be a part of their narrative, because that just goes against what they're trying to do. I don't know. I haven't seen any more of those lights since I've been out here. I've only seen like 5 of them tonight, and I haven't been able to really get anything except for that one earlier on, and I haven't seen anything since I've been standing out here talking. And it's kind of odd too, because those little lights, man, for like a week or so, a couple weeks, man, a few weeks ago, I was seeing a lot of them every night. And for the past couple of weeks now, I haven't seen hardly any, which to me is just odd. Seeing so many in a couple of weeks and then nothing. And like I was saying, it's like the only reason I brought the camera out here tonight was because I was standing out here and I happened to see 2 of them. And I was like, well, shit, I better bring the camera out here just in case there's more of them out here and I can catch it on film. And unfortunately, I haven't seen a whole lot of anything since I've been out here. So I figured this might be a time where I can throw my 2 cents worth in on all this shit that's going on. You guys need to actually really pay attention to what is going on in the background while everybody is paying attention and thinking and talking about this Charlie Kirk scenario. Because they always want to put some kind of tragedy like this that takes the attention off of what they're doing in the background. They always play it out. It's a proven tactic. It's a proven I'm trying to find the words. That's the reason I'm just not as articulate as some people. It's just the way they've been doing it for so long, for centuries, and they know this type of thing works. So they're not going to change what works. Don't fix it if it ain't broke, type of thing. This type of thing has been working for so long. So why change it? So that's the reason why I'm saying it's like, don't be quick to trust the narrative. Because you got to understand the track record. They've been lying to us our entire lives. They've been lying to our our past relatives, our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, our great-great-grandparents, they've been lying to all of us for a very long time. That's the track record. So you got to understand, if that's the track record, what makes you think that they're all of a sudden telling us the truth? It's the 1122 Wingnut Radio for Anarchy Television. I'm back out.